Welcome to the National Water Sports Centre here at Home Pier Point in Nottingham. It's been over a decade since we've seen the Formula 2 World Championships contested on British water. However, this weekend they're back and we're looking forward to some superb racing action.
Powerboat Racing then returns back to Nottingham, and it's in the Formula of the World Formula 2 Championships, the final round. The competition was always fierce, and even Robin Hood is scared. So who else better to tell us all about the racecourse is the most experienced Formula 2 driver out there, Owen Jelf.
It's a two-boy course, so it's pretty straightforward directionally, but actually the winds here are quite funny. So going out of wind, it is more straightforward, and you've got to make sure that you're trimmed out as much as possible, but it is quite tricky coming back in, and the winds are a little bit unpredictable. So you'll see boats are bouncing, and when they bounce, they're not fast enough, so the trick is to get it not to bounce. But if the trick there is, obviously, if you do that, you could go completely over.
Malcolm Goodman, last year's British champion, is here to impress this weekend. In front of a home crowd, what can he do?
There's a gap in the hills and the wind's blowing straight through it, and it's picking you up just coming into this bottom turn here, and it's very tricky. The boat's all over the place, trying to keep the boat on the water.
Uwe Slachterus currently lays fourth in the championship. A win here this weekend would be awesome for him to end the 2012 series.
The morning was not so quite impressive because in the free practice we got the first result, but then my good friend Stark went out and he beat me by 1 second, so it was not so good morning. But now in qualifying I got back, so now let's say one by one, one on his side, one on my side. So we have one more qualifying, we'll see where we go. That's why we tried now to put a better result, because the weather condition at the end was better, and now we improved the result, and we hope that in the next timing that he will not beat me, but we'll see.
So as the boats then wander out onto the racecourse, it's their qualifying time. The fastest lap gets pole position, and it was Owen Jelf who was out there looking fairly quick, but I don't think that this lap is going to be good enough to put the boat on pole position. He's the most experienced driver and has raced this course many, many times. Johan Osterberg lays second in the championship. He needs to make sure that he gains some positions up the grid to ensure a possible win. Malcolm Goodman knows the racecourse but has never ever driven it in a Formula 2. He knows that he's in with a good chance this weekend. Tommy Wallstein from Sweden takes it very, very cautiously. He needs to familiarise himself with this very, very tricky racecourse here. There's a gust of wind which is blowing across the racecourse, making it a little bit tricky for some of the drivers who are not quite so familiar with the race circuit. Uwe Slachterus, always exciting to watch. The Latvian wants to set the boat on pole position. He hangs it loose on the exit of the pit turn. It looks a quick lap, but is it good enough for the pole position? Eric Stark, 2 times world champion. He's done enough, of course, to secure the championship in 2012, but he still wants to win the final round. So pole position then did go to Eric Stark in the end with a 41.25. Slachterus done enough to get second on the grid, and Tommy Wallstein third.
So the F2s are lining up for their head-to-head battles in the match race. However, first up, they've got that all-important individual speed test.
Tommy Wallstein was first to go with the record speed attempt. He hanging it very loose down the back straights, but nobody expected this. Wallstein flips in mid-air, too much wind underneath the boat, and it breaks loose from the water, giving him a full race speed accident. Next on the record run then is Eric Stark. The 2 times world champion takes it more cautiously. He would have known what happened to Wallstein. He doesn't want it to happen to him. Rupert Temper, the man from Austria. He's already a very fast driver in these record runs. They get 1 attempt, 1 run to get a speed record, and Rupert Temper has now completed his. Johan Osterberg, now this looks a fairly quick run down the straight. Is it good enough to post the fastest time? So a clean run then from Osterberg, and it looks quick. Next to go then we have the match racing, and two drivers go head to head with Stark and Malcolm Goodman, who was to become the second victim of the weekend and flips through 360 degrees in the air, catching once again that unforgiving wind, and at a different angle it looks just as horrific as Goodman bounces on entry onto the water, but he pops up and he's okay. The final for the match racing then, where they race over a circuit of two boys. The fastest driver starts on the inside, he does the short course first and then winds it up on the second lap, and the other driver does vice versa. They run up to the top then, Slacterus on the outside going all the way up towards the top. Rupert Temper is on the short lap first off. It's going to be a pretty close run thing. Both of these drivers are evenly matched in speed. Slacterus exits the top turn in number 51. He can see his rival just now going back up the back straight. Slacterus settles the boat nicely then into the pit turn. He knows that the next lap is a short lap for him, and it's important that he gets a good exit on this next turn. Rupert Temper is already at the top then. He's got the long run down the straight, so they should, if they're evenly matched, come out of it pretty close together and side by side. Slacterus is already round at the short course turn. Here we go, side by side action. Temper almost loses it and into Slacterus, but Slacterus is the winner.
So firstly, congratulations, but it would be fair to say it was pretty hairy out there.
Oh yeah, you remember I told you to keep the cameras on this boy?
Oh yeah.
So 2 flips, and no, it was nice. It was nice.
I mean, it was scary enough for me on the side looking at those flips. What about you waiting to race?
Usually I don't get scary about it, but now we have tomorrow race, and this is more like a show element, and now I was going more down. When I saw the guys flipping, I said, okay, I go a little bit down, is more safe, but I finished, and we got what we want.
So it'd be fair to say you drove quite cautiously,
yeah,
but you did what you needed to do.
Yeah, that's the thing. So unfortunately, like I told you, in a second qualifying, I lost the first position. Pole position is gone and to Eric. But in match race, yeah, I'm the man.
Malcolm, it's good to see you in one piece. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I feel a bit sore this morning. Even then, we've just been out for free practice. But I put my belts on, I could feel where they were touching yesterday, feel a few bruises across the top of my shoulders, but no, I feel okay, feel good. Boat feels okay after the lads have all worked really hard all night to get it back on the water, so they've done a great job. That back straight is very tricky, the gusts coming through the trees, and it just caught me out yesterday. I thought I'd saved it, but no, it went straight over. It was quite a violent crash in the end.
Well, our F2 competitors have completed their match race. They now need to prepare themselves for that World Championship, which gives our youngsters a chance to get out on the water with those GT15 heats.
One of the support classes this weekend was the GT15 junior class. A strong field with 3 new drivers for this event, but it was Ben Jelf who was to take the early lead out of the 4 heats that was to count for the weekend's racing. Ben Jelf, back from being European champion, in actual fact, showing everybody else that his trip away has made him a stronger and better driver. And of course, he was last year's national champion and world champion, so he's already a strong contender in this race. He's out there in front quite comfortably at the moment. Everyone else has to follow around to try and beat the young Jelf. Tegan Goodfellow in number 8, getting washed out on the turn, one of a few problems that she's had this season. Thomas Mantrip, always consistent and always competitive, trying his hardest to beat the race leader and the opposition ahead of him. But Jelf looks fairly comfortable out in front, but he has the ever-competitive Charlotte Newton in number 27 to try to challenge him. Elliot Fleet has his first incident in a racing boat and stops and waves his hands. But Ben Jelf seeming almost unstoppable at the Nottingham Grand Prix for the GT15s and makes it look very, very easy. But he knows that the opposition is not too far behind him. But Jelf has done enough to stand on the top step of the podium.
So, Ben, do they call you king of the GT15s yet? Because I think you deserve that title. You could demand it now.
Well, I just do the best as I can and hope for the best.
Yeah.
And everyone else just evenly matches me.
And that certainly was brilliant out there. You were just telling me actually about the design of your boat, because it was certainly choppier today. How did you find it out there?
I found it a little bit more choppy than what I'm normally used to around these sort of waters. But I just pulled through the best as I could.
Well, we've seen some great racing there from the GT15s. We've also seen in the F2 match race just how unpredictable the water can really be. A little bit like our British weather. Really seems to be clouding over, and that wind seems to be picking up as well. Let's see how that could affect our competitors in the UIM F2 World Championship final after the break.